The sound of tearing paper echoed through the dean's office as my mother ripped my full-ride scholarship letter into confetti-sized pieces. Each tear felt like a year of my life being destroyed. Every all-nighter, every perfect test score, every sacrifice I'd made to escape this family. "He deserves it more," she declared, throwing the remnants at Dean Morrison's mahogany desk. "Christopher has so much potential. He just needs the right opportunity." I sat perfectly still in the leather chair, watching my parents perform their well-rehearsed show. Dad stood behind Mom, arms crossed, wearing his intimidation face, the one that used to make me hand over my babysitting money, my birthday cash, anything Christopher wanted. My golden brother sat between them, smirking at me with the confidence of someone who'd never faced a consequence in his 22 years of life. Same age as me, but that's where our similarities ended. While I'd graduated valedictorian, he'd barely scraped by. While I'd worked 3 jobs, he'd spent his time on mysterious business ventures our parents funded. "Mrs. Reeves," Dean Morrison said carefully, gathering the scattered pieces of my scholarship letter, "this is highly irregular. Academic scholarships cannot be transferred between siblings." "Then give him a different one," Dad demanded. "You have sports scholarships, don't you?" Christopher was quite the athlete in high school. That was generous. Christopher had been kicked off the football team for selling steroids to teammates, though my parents had threatened to sue until the school agreed to keep it quiet. "I'm afraid that's not how scholarships work," the dean replied. "They're awarded based on merit and specific criteria." "Merit?" Mom laughed bitterly. "What merit is there in selfishness? Jessica knows her brother needs this more. She could easily get loans, work her way through school. Christopher has difficulties with traditional employment." Difficulties. That's what they called his inability to hold a job for more than 2 weeks without getting fired for theft, harassment, or simply not showing up. "Perhaps," Dean Morrison suggested, "we should hear from Jessica?" All eyes turned to me. I'd been silent for exactly 13 minutes, letting them dig their hole deeper. Christopher's smirk widened, probably thinking I was scared speechless. He had no idea I'd been waiting for this moment for 6 months. "I defer to your judgment, Dean Morrison," I said simply. Mom blinked. "That's it? You're not going to fight for your sister? Explain how Christopher deserves this chance." "I trust the dean to make the right decision based on all available information," I replied, meeting his gaze steadily. Something flickered in Dean Morrison's eyes. Understanding, maybe. He reached for a thick folder on his desk, one I'd noticed when we walked in but my family had ignored. "Well then," he said, opening it, "let's review all the available information, shall we?" Christopher's smirk faltered slightly. "What's that?" "This, Mr. Reeves, is a comprehensive file regarding your activities." The dean pulled out the first document. "Let's start with your application to State University. You claim to have a 3.8 GPA. Yes, so?" Christopher shrugged. "Interesting, considering your official transcripts show a 2.1. He pulled out another paper. "You also listed several extracurricular activities, including founding a charity for underprivileged youth." My parents exchanged glances. They'd helped him write that application, believing every lie he fed them. "I did charity work," Christopher said defensively. "Yes, I see that here." Dean Morrison's tone was dangerously mild. "The charity that collected donations but never registered as a nonprofit? The one currently under investigation for fraud." The color drained from Mom's face. "Investigation. Which brings us to this." The dean pulled out a letter with an FBI seal. "We received this inquiry last month regarding Christopher Reeves and his involvement in several interstate fraud schemes." "That's ridiculous," Dad blustered. "Our son isn't a criminal." "The FBI seems to disagree," Dean Morrison continued. "They're particularly interested in the fake university acceptance letters he's been selling to desperate parents. $50,000 each, promising guaranteed admission to Ivy League schools." I watched Christopher's face cycle through panic, anger, and finally, the inevitable attempt at charm. "Dean Morrison, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," the dean interrupted, "is your parents thinking we would ever accept a student under federal investigation, or that we would revoke a legitimate scholarship from an exemplary student like Jessica to give it to someone who forged recommendation letters from professors who don't exist." "He forged." Mom's voice trailed off. "Everything," I said quietly. "His transcripts, his recommendations, his entire application. Just like he's forged everything his whole life while you enabled him." "You knew?" Dad turned on me, his face purpling. "You knew and didn't tell us?" I tried to tell you when I was 12 and he stole my birthday money. When I was 15 and he sold my laptop. When I was 18 and he tried to take out credit cards in my name. I pulled out my phone, showing them screenshots. I've been monitoring my credit since the day I turned 18. These are all the attempts he's made to steal my identity. 23 times in 4 years. Family doesn't keep receipts on family, Mom said weakly, her favorite line crumbling. Family doesn't steal from family either, I countered. But here we are. Christopher stood up suddenly. This is entrapment or something. You set me up. Sit down, Mr. Reeves, Dean Morrison said sharply. The only thing Jessica did was alert us to verify your application thoroughly. What we found was entirely your doing. You reported him? Mom whispered, staring at me like I was a stranger. Your own brother? I protected myself and the university from fraud, I corrected. The same way I've been protecting myself since I was old enough to realize you'd let him destroy my future to fund his crimes. How dare you? Dad started. How dare I what? Succeed despite you? Refuse to be his victim anymore? Work 60-hour weeks to save money you couldn't steal. I stood up, done with sitting quietly. I earned this scholarship. Every penny of it. And I'm going to use it to get far away from all of you. When the FBI comes, Christopher said viciously, I'll tell them you were involved. That you helped me. They'll believe it. You're the smart one, right? The mastermind. I smiled then, the same calm smile I'd been wearing all morning. Tell them whatever you want. I've been working with them for 6 months. I'm their informant, Christopher. Every text you sent bragging about your easy marks, every email about your foolproof schemes, I forwarded them all. The room went silent except for the sound of Christopher's heavy breathing. You're lying, he said finally. Dean Morrison pulled out another document. Agent Sarah Chin sends her regards, Jessica. She said to tell you the warrant will be served tomorrow morning. Warrant? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. For his arrest, I clarified. And for searching your house, where I'm sure they'll find evidence of all the schemes you've been funding. All the investments in his businesses that were really just fraud operations. We didn't know, Dad said desperately. We thought we were helping him start legitimate businesses. With cash? I asked. Always cash. Always under $10,000 to avoid reporting requirements? You knew something was wrong. You just didn't care as long as your golden boy was happy. Please, Mom turned to Dean Morrison. There must be something. The only something, he said firmly, is that Jessica's scholarship stands as awarded. She'll be starting in the fall with our full support and the university's protection from any retaliation from your family. Protection? Christopher laughed bitterly. From us? She destroyed our family. No, I said, gathering my things. You destroyed our family. I just stopped letting you destroy me too. As I reached the door, Mom made one last attempt. Jessica, please. He's your brother. We're your parents. We love you. I turned back to face them one final time. No, you don't. Love doesn't demand sacrifice of one child for another. Love doesn't steal dreams and sell them for parts. Love protects, not exploits. Where will you go? She asked, tears finally falling. Where will you live? Anywhere but with you, I said simply. I've had an apartment lined up since January. A job that actually pays me instead of funding Christopher's schemes. A future that belongs to me. When he goes to prison, Dad said coldly, it'll be on your head. No, Dean Morrison interjected. When he goes to prison, it'll be because he committed federal crimes. Jessica's only crime was having the courage to stop being your victim. I left them there, my parents clinging to their delusions, Christopher probably calculating how to run before the FBI arrived, and Dean Morrison calmly explaining that campus security would escort them out and ensure they never returned. That evening, I sat in my small apartment, the one I'd kept secret for 6 months, paying rent with cash from jobs they never knew about. My real documents were here, along with backups of everything I'd given the FBI. My scholarship letter was destroyed, but the digital confirmation was safe in my email. My phone buzzed constantly with calls and texts from extended family, all variations of the same theme. How could you do this to your brother? To your parents? Family is everything. I deleted them all without reading, then changed my number. Family is everything. They were right about that. But they were wrong about who qualified as family. My coworker who'd helped me open my own bank account. My high school counselor who'd kept my college plans secret. The FBI agent who'd believed me when everyone said I was just jealous of my brother. They were family. They were the ones who'd helped me save myself. The next morning, I watched from my apartment window as FBI agents led Christopher away in handcuffs. The local news had gotten wind of it. Local man arrested in college admission fraud scheme. They didn't mention me, thanks to Agent Chen's careful handling of my informant status. Mom and Dad stood on their lawn, looking older than I'd ever seen them. Part of me felt sorry for them, but it was a small part, easily quieted by remembering every time they'd chosen him over me. My new phone rang. Dean Morrison. Jessica? I wanted to check in. Make sure you're all right. I'm good, I said, meaning it. Ready to start my future. Excellent. I also wanted to let you know that in light of your exceptional circumstances and assistance in protecting the university from fraud, we're adding a housing stipend to your scholarship. No student should have to work 60 hours a week just to stay safe from their family. I thanked him, trying not to cry. Kindness, after years of manipulation, felt foreign but welcome. 3 months later, I started classes. My parents had tried to contact me through lawyers, claiming I owed them support as their daughter. The judge laughed them out of court, especially after seeing the evidence of their financial crimes. Christopher got 7 years. Apparently, the college fraud was just the tip of the iceberg. He'd been running schemes since high school, enabled and funded by parents who saw his crimes as entrepreneurship. I changed my major from business to law. Turns out, helping the FBI build their case had shown me what I really wanted to do: protect people like me, the ones whose families were their first predators. On graduation day, I stood at the podium as valedictorian, looking out at a crowd that didn't include my biological family. Instead, I saw Agent Chen, Dean Morrison, my mentors and true supporters. My chosen family. Success, I told the assembled graduates, isn't about where you come from. It's about recognizing who truly helps you grow and who holds you back. Sometimes the hardest chains to break are the ones wrapped in the word family. But freedom, real freedom, comes from choosing your own path, even if you have to walk it alone at first. The applause was thunderous. Later, at the reception, classmates shared their own stories of breaking free from toxic families. We weren't alone. We never had been. We just had to be brave enough to reach for the hands that wanted to help rather than hold us down. My diploma read Jessica and Reeves, but I'd already started the paperwork to change my name. A fresh start deserved a fresh identity, one not tied to people who'd seen me as a resource to exploit rather than a daughter to love. Next stop, law school. Full scholarship again, because some things like intelligence, determination, and the courage to save yourself can't be stolen, transferred, or destroyed, no matter how hard your family tries.